I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Big breaking news day led by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals out west, upholding the stoppage of President Trump's immigration order, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So let's cut through all the mumbo jumbo. It'll give you a headache. And let's cut through all the political hackery. Here's what's really happening. The Trump administration believes that terrorists and nations with no central control can get to the USA in a way that is far too dangerous. Hypothetically, an ISIS killer could board a plane in, say, Tripoli, Libya, with a fake passport, then fly to Paris, 2-hour flight, change planes, fly on to New York City. Nobody in Libya will vet that man, so he would arrive here with a decent chance of entry. Therefore, the president wants to impose stronger security oversight on nations like Libya and 6 others that are essentially in chaos. Federal law seems to favor the president. Section 212 states, quote, "Whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may by proclamation and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens," unquote. Law seems pretty clear. So, President Trump suspended immigration in 7 countries for 90 days. For Syria, he also stopped refugees from entering until further notice. Enter the states of Minnesota and Washington, where the attorneys general challenged the travel ban, saying it harmed individuals and businesses and was unconstitutional because it targeted Muslims. Federal judge in Washington then blocked President Trump's order, and just 2 hours ago, a federal appeals court upheld the block unanimously. Why? The 3 appeals court judges basically ruled that there's no urgency to stop travel from the 7 countries, and that there are strong arguments on both sides of the question that should be reviewed by the courts. The judges also wrote that no irreparable injury would be caused by a state of the president's order, and that the court should eventually decide whether the order is constitutional. The judge is basically saying more legal vetting is needed of the terrorist vetting plan. A lot of vetting. Talking Points believes there is more than a little political motivation in this case. No question Minnesota and Washington State took the action because of liberal politics. They believe President Trump is anti-Muslim. As for the appeals court, it's impossible to say with certainty what motivated their decision. If you take them at their word, they simply want more legal hearings on the matter. President Trump says the decision to block is purely political, and that his Justice Department will take it to the Supreme Court. I say good, good. Let's see if federal law as written, and which is pretty clear, means anything anymore. Let's see. In the meantime, anyone coming here from the 7 nations cited by President Trump can expect a substantial wait at the airport. And that's a memo. Now with the top story reaction. Joins in Washington, Elizabeth Wydra, an attorney and president of the Constitutional Accountability Center, and Ken Cuccinelli, former Attorney General for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Am I leaving anything important out, Mr. Cuccinelli?
No, I think in terms of the high points, you hit the high points very well, Bill, and I think that when this is all said and done, whatever legal course it is, once they get to the merits, President Trump is going to win overwhelmingly on this, just because of the breadth of the presidential authority in this area. And this court has essentially violated the separation of powers by restraining that.
Okay,
it's very unfortunate.
What you're saying is speculation, and as you know, the Supreme Court is a political body right now, divided, 4 to 3 to 1, Justice Kennedy being the moderate.
Right.
But what I'm most interested in, Ms. Wydra, and you're coming at it from a more liberal point of view than Mr. Cuccinelli, is that the law is fairly clear that the president has the authority to do this. Barack Obama did it in Iraq. Bush the younger did it. And yet the judges are really kind of skirting that law, trying to find a way around it, are they not?
Well, so I think what you left out, what Mr. Cuccinelli left out, is something incredibly important. the Constitution. While it's true that the president has authority over immigration and national security, he must exercise that authority in compliance with the Constitution. And that was one of the most important messages from the Ninth Circuit ruling
everybody
today.
trots out the Constitution. Be
It's
specific.
kind of important.
Be specific in what Mr. Trump is not doing constitutionally.
Yes, well, first and foremost, he claimed that his executive order was not reviewable by the courts. And this is something that I think he's getting an education in the way that the structure of democracy works.
That teed off the judges, no doubt. That was a foolish statement to make if you were trying to get your ban back in place. But constitutionally, the law is pretty clear. And as you know, Congress makes the laws, not the judges. The law gives the president authority to suspend alien immigration if he deems necessary.
In compliance with the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law.
But you still haven't told me where the Constitution is running that off the road.
Well, here you go, Bill. So the court said tonight that there was a likelihood that Washington State would succeed on its due process claim. This is the part of the Constitution that says that your important rights cannot be taken away without due process of law.
What rights are we talking about? The rights of the people in Somalia, in Yemen?
The Supreme Court has said clearly that the due process clause applies to both citizens and non-residents alike.
Non-residents, that means somebody in Yemen, all right, has a right.
That's not accurate.
To the American constitutional process.
It certainly is. Landon versus Placencia. Look it up. But also, there's an important Establishment Clause question about religion. You can't discriminate on the basis of religion and national security.
Nobody has proven that there was any religious aspect to this at all. It was aimed at terrorist nations.
Even this court declined to rule for against the Trump administration on the Establishment Clause.
They didn't consider it, but they said there are serious concerns. And frankly, Rudy Giuliani said on this network that Trump came to him and said,
anybody says anywhere doesn't really matter. What matters is what is written. And you know that as an attorney. I'm not smart enough to be an attorney, but even though I know, it's what's written, not what's said. And it looks to me, Mr. Cuccinelli, I'll give you both 30 seconds, that the judges are trying to find a way around this law as stated.
Yeah, the due process was the cornerstone of the court's decision tonight. That's what they used as their benchmark. And yet they gave due process rights to people who do not have due process rights. People in Somalia who've never been to this country, people in Syria who've never been to this country. They don't have due process rights. They don't have constitutional rights of any kind. And rather than restrict the restraining order to those who arguably might have such rights, they left this extraordinarily broad temporary restraining order in place, and now really
debate on it.
Now the Trump position ought to be to withdraw the order, break it up into 4 or 5 different orders in consideration of what the court said, so you can get 99.9%.
I'd like to see it go.
But it will eventually.
I gotta go.
It will eventually.
All right, Ms. Wyder, last word, please.
So I think that tonight we're seeing the vindication of the Constitution, both with respect to structure and with fundamental American values.
Nice to see a leftist who likes the Constitution again.
All right. Very good debate, counselors. Thank you. Next on the rundown, did Nordstrom's remove products under Ivanka Trump's name for political reasons? Judge Jeanine Pirro will weigh in on that and the decision about the aliens. She's going to do both. Then later. Looks like authorities in Washington are coming down hard on violent protesters who tried to disrupt the inauguration. We'll have a follow-up report moments away. Outrage of the Week segment tonight, punishing the Trump family because of the president's politics, and more analysis of the immigration order just out tonight. With us now, Judge Jeanine Pirro. So I got a little confused with Ms. Wyder saying that people in Yemen and Libya have constitutional rights even though they're not on our soil.
Well, you weren't confused. You were right. I mean, the reason that made no sense to you is because if you're from Libya or Somalia, you don't have constitutional rights. You see, that's the problem with the left. The first thing they start claiming is that, oh my goodness, the reason it's wrong is it's unconstitutional. That's hogwash.
Okay, but if they were here, they would have constitutional rights.
That's right.
Anybody on our soil.
Right.
Okay, now, the ruling in general is basically driven by, hey, there's no urgency here. And so the president, we need to see this, we being the legal system.
Right.
We need to take a look at this. And to me, I mean, they're not upholding the stated law.
Right, they're not. They're not. And you quoted the law perfectly in your talking points. And a judge should have the scales of justice in front of him or her, which should be the national security or the security of the United States and the interest of the plaintiff. The interest of the plaintiff, the state of Washington, is not primary. In fact, the state of Washington doesn't have an interest. It's some students from another country in the state of Washington that does not tip the scales. And let me tell you something, Bill. The reason that the state of Washington is suing is because they know that the appeal goes to the most liberal,
but one of the
most
judges is a
left-wing.
Republican appointed by Bush the Younger.
Right.
So it's too easy to just dismiss it in a knee-jerk.
But
I'm going to make a prediction here and stun the world. The Supreme Court is going to throw this out because Washington State and Minnesota don't have standing to bring it.
That's exactly the point.
That's what they're going to do.
They don't have standing.
They're going to throw it out.
And by standing, that means that they do not have a direct, immediate interest.
Right.
It's a third-party interest, maybe, as opposed to the interest of the United States of America, the people, the citizens. You're going to tell me, Bill, that a citizen of another country who we don't even know, whose country won't even tell us who that person is, has primacy over the United States citizen, and that the President of the United States has to tell a federal judge why under Section 8 of Article 2, Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States that your last guest couldn't cite, has the primacy and gives the president the power? That's hogwash. The Supreme Court will give Trump the win on this.
Even though it's for liberal justices, even though?
Yeah, I think that the liberal justices understand the Constitution.
All right,
this is not a close one, Bill.
Okay, now tomorrow night on your fine program, Saturday night at 9 o'clock. Oh, you owe me big for that. You're going to go.
Tomorrow's Friday.
I'm sorry, Saturday night. I'm hoping it's Friday. You're going to deal with this Ivanka Trump thing.
Yeah.
Now, Nordstrom said, and we asked for a statement, they said, look, we made this decision based on performance over the past year. Sales of the brand have steadily declined to the point where it didn't make good business sense for us to continue with the line, unquote. All right, and now everybody's mad at Nordstrom's because they're saying it's a political deal. You say?
I say that Nordstrom is responding to the demands of a group on social media called Grab Your Wallet, hashtag Grab Your Purse, one of them, who hate the Trumps, who hate Donald Trump.
But how do you know that?
Because her brand was selling very well for many years, and then all of a sudden, in response to this social media, all of a sudden it's going down, and now other companies are joining it in a weekend. Are you telling me in 3 days? Now we know.
So you think it's all political? They're caving to the far left.
They are caving to the far left.
But you know how many Trump supporters aren't going to Nordstrom's? It's not going to help them.
But you know what? Nordstrom acted to their peril. Shame on them.
All right, more with the judge Saturday night, 9 o'clock. Directly ahead, far-left Senator Elizabeth Warren scolded in the Senate, as we told you, for attacking the new Attorney General Jeff Sessions. We'll have a follow-up report on that situation. Then later, Waters confronting some students who are protesting the president's order. Those reports after these messages.
Why are you checking your credit score?
I think we could finally get a bigger place.
Back to follow-up segment tonight. As we reported last night, Senator Elizabeth Warren tried to brand Jeff Sessions a racist by reading a letter written by Coretta Scott King 31 years ago. The letter had to do with a case Mr. Sessions prosecuted while U.S. Attorney in Alabama. Ms. Warren was not allowed to read that letter.
I ask leave of the Senate to continue my remarks.
Is there objection?
Object.
I appeal the ruling.
Objection is heard. The senator will take her seat.
With us now, Kerry Kennedy, president of the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Organization. Ms. Kennedy's late father was a senator from New York State. Her late uncle, a senator from Massachusetts. So you object to Senator Warren being silenced. Why?
Well, because she was there looking into the appropriateness of Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General of the United States. And she was bringing legitimate questions to his record.
All right, but
she should not have been silenced.
There's a clear rule, and I'm going to read it now. This is Senate Rule 19, Section 2. All right, it says, no senator in debate shall directly or indirectly, and this would have been indirectly reading Coretta Scott King's letter, by any form of words impute to another senator or to other senators any conduct or motive unworthy or unbecoming a senator. So she was trying to make the point, Elizabeth Warren was, that Sessions is a racist and doesn't deserve to be Attorney General. this clearly violates Senate Rule 19.
Well, actually, that rule was put into place so that senators talking about other senators as senators would not attack each other.
Yeah, they didn't want them leveling personal charges against.
So, but that's not what was going on here. Here, she was talking about an attorney general candidate who happens to be a senator. He happens to be a senator, but her point was not to talk about him as a senator. Her point was to talk about him as a potential attorney general of the United States of America.
But it was still being done in the Senate to another senator. Well, so they invoked that rule. But why?
That's true, but they've never done it in the past. I mean, they have, but the last time was 1979 when Ted Cruz attacked a senator.
It wasn't 79. It was.
It was
because Cruz wasn't in the Senate.
No.
But let me say, this is what
they invoked Rule 19 was 1979.
Okay,
but Cruz has recently called, I think it was Mitch McConnell, a liar, and they didn't use that. And
look, you don't justify bad behavior by pointing to other bad behavior. You know that. Here's what I would have done if I had been Elizabeth Warren. I would have said, I don't believe that that Jeff Sessions is worthy to become Attorney General, and here's why. And to back up my contention, I point to a letter written by Coretta Scott King about Mr. Sessions' prosecution of civil rights workers in whenever it was. And you can read that letter on my website. She could have done it easily. It wouldn't have been in violation of anything. But she wanted to hotshot it, grandstand it for her own constituency. You know what she was doing. You've been in politics long enough. She was just, and they caught on to it. This was demeaning. You didn't have to do that. You could have gotten your point across.
Well, you know what? I think that that's one way of approaching it, but I think that Coretta Scott King is she's an American icon.
Sure.
And her husband was the leading civil rights activist.
But that doesn't mean you violate a Senate rule. You can direct people to her.
I have to say, I don't think she was violating a Senate rule.
Okay, but that's not your call, because that's the call that was made by the Senate.
Well, but as we know, people in power don't always make calls that are
I don't mind you criticizing the call, but there wasn't really much argument from the left on it, because the rule is, as I just read, is pretty explicit.
Well, I think the point here is not whether did she break a technical rule or not. The point is, should this man with a racist past and who says
that... But that's your opinion.
No, this is not an opinion.
No. He was never branded a racist by anybody.
Oh, excuse me, but I think that nobody has come forward, not one Republican has come forward to dispute.
Sure they have. They said
excuse me, to dispute what Coretta Scott King said about him, which is that he tried to suppress elderly black voters.
I'm not sure whether anybody delved into that case 31 years ago, but 52 Republican senators voted him Attorney General.
Well, that doesn't mean they don't think he's racist.
Are you saying that senators in the United States would vote a racist into?
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely been done in the past.
I don't think so. And I don't think it's fair to brand him a racist because, as I said, it's never been proven in any way, shape, or form. He has put forth his point of view that as U.S. Attorney in Alabama, he prosecuted cases that put racists in prison. He did civil rights legislation aggressively. So you can think he is, but it's not fair to say definitive he is.
Okay.
Last word.
So let's say this. Let's look at what he's going to do, the way he's acting. And I can tell you that Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights is going to be watching him every single day.
You and the ACLU,
and
right?
We are going to be holding him accountable and be calling him out. And I look forward to coming back on your show.
Absolutely, and you're always welcome. But I think you do yourself a disservice, and you know that I respect your late father immeasurably, by branding people racist. I don't think it's the right thing to do. Just my opinion. Ms. Kennedy, thank you.
Thank you.
Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. The verdict is in on the Wounded Warriors charity. Some say there was too much spending, not enough helping of the wounded vets. Now we have new information. Also, Waters confronting students who walked out of class to protest the refugee order.
Why don't you want people extremely vetted before they come here from those countries?
Why should they be extremely vetted?
Because those are havens of terrorism.
America's a haven of terrorism.
Uh-oh. We hope you stay tuned for those reports. True Serum segment tonight, 3 hot topics, beginning with a grand jury in Washington, D.C. indicting 146 more people who allegedly committed violence on Inauguration Day. Here now, our True Serum correspondents Trish Reagan and Eric Shawn. So it looks like D.C. authorities are cracking down hard on these demonstrators. Yeah. What's the total so far indicted?
They really have. There are 230 who have been charged. 209 have been indicted. You know, Bill, it's serious because these are felony rioting, and that carries a charge of 10 years in prison or $25,000 in fines. You know, usually most protests, you've covered them, they put you in the paddy wagon, take you to the precinct.
You get a ticket.
Get a DAT, desk appearance ticket, or maybe misdemeanor at most.
Right.
This stuff is serious because of that violence.
It's interesting because D.C. is such a liberal, it's run by the feds. These are federal charges, by the way. So these clowns that committed this violence, and this is a serious business. So they convene a grand jury, the folks, not a judge who can just toss it on some technicality, and they come back and they say, you know, we're going to hold these people accountable. Federal court, as you said, maybe a 10-year, but then if it's a first offense, they're not going to get 10. So the message that I'm seeing is that we're not going to tolerate the anarchy in the District of Columbia.
Yeah, and you've got the new form of protesting, that black bloc protesting, which we saw at Berkeley. It started, as you can see, back in Berlin in the 80s, when they all dress in black, and they cover their faces, and that's some of the violence that we've seen because of what's caused that. So I think they're really looking at those groups, those anarchist groups, and looking at that style of protesting, and are getting tough right off the bat.
And a lot of them had faces covered. That's against the law in the District of Columbia. You cannot have your face covered. And the reason that there's so many prosecutions is cameras.
Yeah.
Cameras are everywhere now. And so if you do it, they're going to catch you. All right, let's go over to a CBS poll, new CBS poll, on whether Islam is a violent religion. Let's put the stats up. The question is, generally speaking, do you think the Islamic religion encourages violence more than any other religions around the world? Less than other religions, the same as other religions. Results you can see, 50%, the same amount, 33% more, 6% less. Now, what's the why behind this, Trish?
Well, I think what's going on, you'll see that 66% of Democrats believe that it's no more violent than any other religion,
right.
As well as half of the people that were polled. And what's going on is that, you know, you think, Bill, about all the political correctness we have in society today. You think about President Obama and the efforts he made, for example, to say this is not radical Islamic terrorism.
Right.
This is just terrorism.
But
and so that's part of it.
Here's the interesting thing about the question. It's the Muslim religion. That's the key word. So where you can say there are radical clerics, imams driving it, and there are, much more so than Christianity or Buddhism or Shintoism, much more so. I think that word is picked up by the left and saying, well, it's not the religion, it's just the fanatics within the religion.
Well, and people don't want to believe that it could possibly be the religion, and I hear you, it is fanatics who have really taken hold of the religion and distorted it massively.
Right.
But people don't want to say this. I mean, think about it. If someone asks you this, it means you're condemning Islam in some way.
Right.
And they've been taught and
Democrats,
that they shouldn't do it.
63% of Republicans say it's more violent, Islam, and 66% of Democrats say it is not. Okay. Wounded Warrior Project advertises a lot on Fox News Channel. There was a big controversy that money that the folks are sending in wasn't being used to help the vets as much as it should be. The Better Business Bureau investigated, correct?
That's correct.
And it's the big organization. What did they find out?
We covered this a lot here at True Serum last January. It was a big scandal, and it turned out that apparently it's not true. Better Business Bureau says there was no evidence of lavish spending. Charity Navigator, which is the premier group that covers charities, has bumped up Wounded Warrior's rating and now has 4 stars out of 4. It has a 96 out of 100 accountability and transparency. So it's
some people were fired, though. Some people were moved out of that organization.
Steve Nardizzi and Al Giordano, who co-founded it, were let go by the board. 85 people were fired. They had to cut expenses. They lost donations.
Sure.
And now the Better Business Bureau says there's no evidence of all those stories.
All right. But, you know, look, we want, because they do advertise on the Fox News Channel, and a lot of you giving money, your money is going where it should go. That's the bottom line.
That is the bottom line.
It's going to help the vets.
All they have to do is look at Charity Navigator and see that.
And I bet you don't hear this story on any other network but here. I bet you don't. Trish, Eric, thank you. We come right back. Bernie Goldberg on fake news. Will it ruin the entire journalism industry? The Waters with protesting students. Do they know anything about what they're protesting against? We're coming right back.
Reilly Factor, the #1 cable news show for 16 years and counting.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Weekdays at Bernie segment tonight. Fake news. January 31st, a fabricated news story claimed that Donald Trump's executive order on refugees led to the capture of an ISIS leader, Rashid Mohammed. Website times.com.mx put that fake news out. Joining us now from Miami, Bernie Goldberg. This fake news stuff is not going to stop. How much do you believe it'll affect straight news down the line?
It can have a very big negative effect on straight news. Look, anytime you mix something that's fake, whether it's news or art or money, with something that's real, if the fake looks genuine, you don't know what to believe. Is that a real Picasso or a fake Picasso? Is that a real $20 bill or a counterfeit? As it pertains to news, this stuff starts out in the sewer, and in the blink of an eye, it's all over the place.
Right.
It's on Facebook, it's on Twitter, it's on other websites. Sometimes it's in newspapers, and that erodes the credibility. It gives the appearance, rather, of the credibility and legitimacy of something that's real, but it's only the appearance.
First of all, I want to go on record as saying that I have warned people not to take their news from the internet for years. Okay, I don't care what internet site it is. Do not take your news from there. And that's the first rule. But the second rule is, I think the legitimacy, as you just put it, of the journalism industry in America is collapsing. Because a lot of the papers and a lot of cable news takes this garbage, doesn't vet it, and throws it out there. And then they say, oh, it's not our fault. We just saw it on so-and-so.
Yeah.
You know, and so where are the standards?
Look, you and I have criticized a lot of the mainstream media. Let's take the Bible of the liberal Bible, the New York Times. Whatever they are, whatever biases they have, except in the rarest of cases, Jason Blair or somebody, they don't deal in fake news. Now, I know there are people listening right now saying, oh, yes, they do. No, they don't, okay? Fake news is made up news. Fake news is not mistakes, and it's not, as President Trump likes to believe, that any news you don't like, he says is fake news. That's not fake news. Fake news is made up news. And on the most outrageous fake news, it helps if you're both gullible and hyper-partisan.
Or, hyper-partisan. You want to believe, like the Hillary Clinton thing.
You want to believe it.
Remember that?
You want to believe it.
There was a Hillary Clinton thing about some kind of sordid pizza parlor that was, and it was total BS.
You have to be an idiot to believe that, but if you hate Hillary Clinton, you might.
Enough,
but it goes the other way too. It goes the other way too.
I'm going to dispute you in a general, not specific way. Since I've been in this business 40 years now, I've seen standards drop dramatically. The editorship, where did you get it, who said it, both sides of the story. You know what the con is now, Goldberg? You know what the con is now? The liberal press writes articles, and all they interview are liberal people, but don't identify them as such. I see this over and over and over again. They never tell the reader who is saying these quotes. So they stack it 6 or 7 to 1. That's not fake news. That's contrived news. It's in the same soup can, though.
There's a difference between bias, and I wrote the book called Bias. There's a difference between bias and fake news. Now, you gave the example of the sordid Hillary Clinton. Look, I'll say what it is. Hillary Clinton was running a sex ring for children out of a pizza parlor in Washington. You have to be a moron to believe that. But if you hate Hillary Clinton, you might. On the other side, I saw a picture on the web of Donald Trump standing next to his parents, his real parents, but they were dressed in Ku Klux Klan outfits. What kind of imbecile is going to believe that? But if you hate Donald Trump,
yeah, and they photoshopped it. I got a letter today from, and I just want to, because this is around, and I think it's a little on talk radio too. I got a letter today that said George Soros gave money to John McCain and Lindsey Graham, and it's so untrue. You know, a few people who once worked for Soros way back made donations to those, but they don't have anything to do with them now. Individuals. Right. But this is taken on a currency. But I'll tell you what, all of this garbage that's just coming at us in all of these ways, it's going to destroy journalism. Real quick last word.
The quick last word is this. If you want to believe this stuff, there's a much better chance that you're going to believe it. That's the key. The audience is also guilty. It's not just the worms who put out this vile stuff.
But the worms are the most guilty, and we want to get them.
Okay.
Bernie, thank you. Waters is next. Compelling story tonight. Some students walk out of class, protest a refugee order, but how much do they really know about what President Trump has in mind? Waters is next. Segment tonight, Waters World. Hundreds of New York City students, most of them in high school, walked out of classes this week to protest President Trump's temporary travel ban levied against 7 mostly Muslim countries. The event was arranged on Facebook, no surprise. So we sent Waters out to talk to some of the protesters.
Are you cutting class to go to this protest?
Yes.
Which class?
I would have missed any class, but it happened to be lunch.
I'll go turn the fryers back on and throw some wings in for you.
Tell me what wingy.
I'm cutting my calculus class. I have a test.
So what happens when the teacher fails you?
I think that if he fails me, he's an ass.
I'm missing geometry and PE.
You don't like gym?
Wouldn't kill you. We play some competitive sports.
Do your teachers know you're cutting?
Yeah, many of them were just like, we understand a lot of you aren't going to be here tomorrow. Good for you.
What exactly are you ladies here to protest?
I would say I'm here to protest the ban on immigrants and refugees.
The travel ban. That's un-American.
What he's doing is just not right, and it's fascism, it's not democracy.
We're protesting against Trump. He wants to ban people from this country, and it's kind of sad when you don't like a person for what they look like.
What don't you like about Trump?
He's racist. He's against African Americans. He said that black people are ignorant.
He did?
Yeah.
When was that?
He said it. I could change what I said.
You were chanting that America was never great earlier. Do you believe that?
It's a chant. It rhymes. 5, 6, 7, 8. America was never great.
But you know America was pretty great when we defeated the Nazis.
This is not good here.
Which nations are on the temporary travel ban list?
Well, as of right now, I'm not completely sure about the actual countries.
Libya, Iraq, pretty sure Afghanistan, Lebanon, many
This isn't turning out the way I wanted it to.
It's all the nations that he wants, just not in America. That's bad phrasing, and I'm on TV.
Boy, what a great show.
Why don't you want people extremely vetted before they come here from those countries?
Why should they be extremely vetted?
Because those are havens of terrorism.
America's a haven of terrorism.
If you think America's so bad, you should try Syria.
You can't even set foot in the parking lot.
The countries that he's blocked, they're not terrorist countries.
Iran's not a terrorist country?
No.
It's the #1 sponsor of terrorism in the world.
What you talking about, Willis?
Do you believe in borders?
If you're cool and all, you're coming in to help me. I'm cool with that, but you're not coming here to mess things up.
So don't you want to check to see if someone's cool before you let them in?
Well, of course, you always want to check. That's why we have our airports.
And that's why we want extreme vetting, right?
Of course. But
so you do agree with the Trump ban? What does your sign say on the back?
On the back it says punch a Nazi.
Wait, I thought you don't believe in violence.
I do believe in violence, not gun violence.
So just these things.
Yeah.
I've got Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary waiting for you.
I'm an immigrant. I'm from South Africa. Do you think I need to be extremely vetted?
After some of the comments you made, yes.
I'm just being humorous.
Mocking the little high school student Waters.
I feel so bad about it, too.
Did any of them know anything?
They could name a few countries
that were on the list.
That were on the list.
Yes.
But do you know what they said, which was strange, because I think they got it from somewhere? They said Trump is not banning people from countries he does business with. So I said, is there a Trump Tower in Afghanistan? And they just sat there with a blank stare.
Okay. So how many high school kids did you talk to about? How many?
Probably about a dozen.
Okay. Did any of them have any idea about this issue?
I would say no.
Okay. So none of them?
None of them.
Right.
And there were hundreds of them out there.
Okay. So they were there basically for social reasons because their friends were there and this was skipping school, right?
Did you ever walk out of class?
No.
I mean, when other kids do it, you tag along. I think that was part of it. I wouldn't have done it because it was freezing and raining.
I wouldn't have done it because it's a waste of time. But it's kind of sad.
It is sad.
You know?
Because these people are going to lead the country, possibly.
They're indoctrinated already, and they don't know really what it is from what you brought back.
Well, maybe if they watch tonight, they could wise up and learn something.
The odds of them watching tonight, long. I was watch this program on Saturday night. I'll be on it.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
So the ratings will go. And then as soon as I'm down, no. Waters, 8 o'clock Saturday night. And a few quick notes. If you live in Omaha, Nebraska or Tacoma, Washington, nearby, and you're looking for a good Valentine's Day gift, there's still some tickets left to see Waters, Miller, and me in the Spin Stops Here live show. It's the last weekend in March. Tales on BillO'Reilly.com. Also, there's a podcast on BillO'Reilly.com and iTunes where Robert Samuel talks to me about the Trump interview behind the scenes. That's a Contributing Factor podcast. Factor tip of the day, what can the Roman Empire teach Americans? The tip, moments away. Factor tip of the day, can the Romans teach us anything? First big sale on BillO'Reilly.com, 50% off gear and some books. Premium members get their automatic discounts on top of that, so it's like we're giving you stuff. Also, pre-order my upcoming book, Old School, Life in the Sane Lane, out March 28th. We will pick up the shipping. Now, the mail, Brian Crahell, Huntington, New York. Mr. Rowe, I'm a proud public school teacher, and know you were a teacher as well. However, I find it appalling that you embrace Betsy DeVos. Charter schools are not a panacea to the problems of inner-city schools. Panacea, good word. First, I did not endorse Ms. DeVos or any other cabinet appointment. That's not what we do here. We keep an eye on all the powerful people. Second, it's obvious, Brian, that many public schools are not able to teach children effectively. It's obvious. That has to change. Perhaps Ms. DeVos can improve things. Chris Dottie, Grapevine, Texas. Senator Franken may have taken big money from the teachers' unions. Ms. DeVos has donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to Republicans. Shame on you, O'Reilly. Shame on me for what? Secretary DeVos is a Republican, so she helped her party. Nothing wrong with that. Franken opposes school choice and profits by taking union money from the teachers. And you're making a comparison? Come on. John Miola, Mamaroneck, New York. Al Franken for president and Jill Stein for vice president. The Frankenstein ticket. Robert Andrews, no town, and that indicates he doesn't watch The Factor because everybody knows name and town. How many times do I have to say it? Bill, your sources revealed the decline of the Socratic method of teaching in favor of indoctrination of college professors. I'd be interested in knowing where this is occurring. Unless you live in a cave, it's occurring everywhere, Robert. That's not really in dispute, and you know it. Pete Lally, Houston, Texas. Bill, you and Miller don't know who took the Tom Brady jersey? Putin has it. John Fair, County Mayo, Ireland. Bill, I thought your interview with President Trump was excellent. Your tone was not confrontational, but not cozy either. Hard news interview, John. That's the way it should be. By the way, the entire interview with President Trump, unedited, now posted on BillO'Reilly.com. Sandra Earle, Cassar, North Carolina, can't put Killing the Rising Sun down. Ordered it on Kindle last night, didn't want to go to sleep. Excellent, Sandra. Thanks for reading the book. And finally tonight, the fact or tip of the day, another book. As you know, I write about history, mostly American-based. But there is a new book called Imperator Deus by John Prawn about the first Christian emperor, Constantine. Now, it sounds pin-headed, but if you're interested in Roman history, in Christianity, this is a fine book to read. And Mr. Prawn is the father of Fox News correspondent Elizabeth Prawn. So there's a little nepotism involved here, but that's all right. Here's the tip of the day. Always help friends and family when you can. And that is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, we'd like you to spat out about fact from anywhere in the world. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name it down if you wish to. Opine. Word of the day, no invective when writing to the Factor. Okay, so just let me explain a little bit further because we have about 15 seconds to kill. You saw the Trump interview. It was an edited interview, and we saw it in 3 segments on Sunday, on Monday, and on Tuesday. All of it is together, no edits, top to bottom on BillO'Reilly.com. So if you have some time, you might want to check that out. Again, thanks for watching us tonight. I am Bill O'Reilly. Please remember that the spin stops here because we are definitely looking out for you.